if you can share a little bit of some of the comments that you guys made or some of the observations you were able to pick up from looking at this artwork. Anyone want to share some genius with me? It really helps.
There's a lot of interesting media. And when we, at first, it was hard to tell sometimes what some of those artworks were made from, since we were seeing them at a distance, and it was fascinating to zoom in and say, oh, that's fabric, or oh, I think I see hair there, oh, there's words in the brick. It's a
so the materials is a little bit different. The materials are a little bit different, non-conventional materials. We saw fabric, we saw hair, we saw bricks to make different artwork. The piece that had fabric, can someone kind of tell me about that piece? We're gonna really focus on that piece specifically as our inspiration for our art project today. Can anyone tell me what they thought about when they saw the piece with the fabric, made from fabric? Please, please, please share with me. It makes it so much.
Is that the striped piece that you're talking about?
Yes, the striped piece. Did anyone remember some of the comments that came up when you were looking at the stripe piece? I'm curious to hear what you had to say. I guess like I do when I'm with students and just call on names, but it would help me so much more if you guys want to share just a little bit. You guys can put it in your chat box. What are some words you guys use to describe? In the chat box, my box is open. I'll read them out loud if you're being shy tonight. But I just want to get our brains in the right space. You know, at the museum, what we're doing is not really making artists out of all the people we're working with for an hour. What we are trying to do is share the experience that they're trying to communicate. So I want to get us in the right frame of mind to get into this small art project that we're going to work on for 20 or 30 minutes together. And to do that, I want to hear what you have to say when you guys are thinking. You're thinking it's quilted, a chain gang. Okay. Those are good comments. From that one piece that I really want you to kind of remember is the piece with the black and white stripes. Time, faded spirit, old frayed fabric. Time and faded spirit. I love that. I really want us to think about the idea of time and that whole old frayed fabric, how the passage of time is shown on the materials that we wear around us. Now, the artist inside of this exhibit is all about the prison experience. And some artists were actual prison inmates, some were not, but are really in tune with this whole idea of what they're trying to communicate. And these artists were able to communicate a lot with the one painting or one piece that's just a collage of fabrics. I hear the black and white palette gave a piece of historic feel. I hear faded lives. I hear a faded spirit. I hear old faded fabric, time passing, something quilted, something like a chain gang, this idea of laboring over a piece. And if we really think about that piece in specific, it could have been very easy to just take paint and put white and black paint down and still kind of show us the same basic visual image. But this artist chose to use fabric and material that has been faded through time, that has been worn in the chain gang. And because that material itself, we were able to pick that up and pull that message in. Sometimes artists tell stories that are super literal and very, very direct. And sometimes they just create a mood for us to kind of walk into that space with them. This artist, with just those two pieces of material, was able to kind of give us a space, or at least I didn't see anyone write down black and white. I didn't see anyone write down just kind of what it is, glue. I didn't hear anyone say anything like that. All the adjectives you kept bringing up were about this feeling of what it feels like to experience this painting. Now, our challenge to you guys, like I said, for the San Jose Museum of Art is not to make you artists in 30 minutes and to make you masters in 30 minutes, but we would like you to kind of just ponder that thought that we just saw an exhibit about the prison experience. And how can we just kind of place ourselves in this time? We've been, last year, been in kind of in a confined space. We've been kind of, you know, alone, and some places, some people more alone than others. So this idea of time has kind of been in my head, at least. I'd like to plant that seed into your brain as we're working on this small project. The idea of time. Spend time, how do we make time, how do we kill time? All these things that we've done. What do we have to show from all the time we've been doing this last year? Did anyone learn how to bake sourdough? Did people learn how to play the guitar? All these little things that we try to fill our time with, right? So I want you to think about these little things as we start to make this whole project together. And what do we take away? The people in these exhibits, were there in this prison space, you know, they come in with limited resources and they leave with limited resources. So what do we take away with them? Is it a mental space? Is it an experience? Or it's very little material? So to that end, I'm going to restrict you and challenge you on our materials that we're going to use today. Today, I want to have you tell a small story by the materials you choose to include in this small weaving project. Now, you can tell a story by showing us certain colors. Pink and purple looks different, feels different than black and yellow. Those two things are different. You can tell a story by what you choose to include. I'm a grumpy old man. A lot of my artwork has grumpy old man in it, but other people don't have that same grumpy old man attitude. And so they figure out a way to express a little bit of who they are. My wife loves flowers, so a lot of her artwork has a little motif kind of running through it. So think about those things and think about how we can start to tell stories by just the patterns we choose to include into our weaving. Now today is going to be a very simple weaving project, but I want you to think about color. I want you to think about the materials you're using to tell your story. And I want you to think about transforming the physical object, taking one object and transforming it into something else. Just like the prisoners have to do sometimes in their artwork in the actual prisons today, and also how this artist was able to transform some old faded fabrics into a painting that speaks about faded lives. That's powerful. We don't have to speak about faded lives. If you just want to say something really nice and fun, pick some nice and fun colors, and that'll be a nice story to tell too. We can tell stories that'll take us all these different places, but we just have to tell stories that take us to an experience. So folks, today's materials are super simple. If you have some junk mail laying around, let's get some junk mail. I got my birthday's coming up. They sent me my AARP card. That's pretty cool. If you want to, you can use a ruler. You won't need it, but if you want to be a little bit extra careful, you can use a ruler and a pen. They're not absolutely necessary. What you will need is some scissors and some glue. So paper, scissors, and glue. When it comes to paper, folks, you guys can use these AARP or these kind of junk mail things, but you can get creative. You can just get regular colored paper if you have some nice colored paper laying around the house. If you don't have colored paper, you can take white paper and just kind of rub crayon on it or rub color on it. We're gonna just take this out of context anyway. What we're trying to do is build some texture and some color. And if you want to, you can also use magazine pages, and we can use pages from a magazine. So folks, I see some people who got up and went to get their supplies. I'm gonna give you just about 2 minutes. I'm seeing the rest, oh, awesome. I'm seeing that the rest of you are already kind of sitting there, so you probably already have some things near. Remember, the paper can be as any kind you want. Some magazine sheets, some random colored sheets, old junk mail. Bring a variety, and that way you have a choice when you're actually putting together your composition today. All right, I see some folks still walking, so I'm gonna just wait a couple more minutes and then we'll get started. Like I said, folks, we're not trying to make masterpieces today. We're just trying to get into this space and kind of contemplate what we have just been experiencing at the virtual gallery that we've all been into. You know, each one of us went into this space and we all saw the same artwork, but our stories are always different. Yes?
Is it okay if Joelle joins us?
Awesome, yes, of course. This is perfect. Hi, welcome. All right, folks. I think that everyone on camera is already back, so I'm assuming that everybody who's off cam, oh, there she is, Lisa's back. I love your background. It makes me want to be there, Lisa. So everyone who's back here, I'm assuming everyone, they're like an indicator for everybody else, so everyone's already back here. Let me just show you what we're gonna do. Like I said, this is not a complicated assignment, but it's gonna be up to you how you take this or where you take this assignment. What we're gonna be working on is basic paper weaving. You've all seen it before, something pretty simple, just like this. Over, under, very simple grid pattern. Now this is a basic weave, but what we wanna challenge you to do is kind of see how you can spice this up. You can do different things by making different cuts. You can make different effects on your weaving pattern, so it looks a little bit more 3D. And I'll show you how to make some of these beginning cuts. But my goal today is to show you some examples, give you the challenge, and then I want to see what you've done at the end of our time together. Also, you can take, work on scale. If you want to work on a smaller piece, you can work on smaller pieces. The cuts that you start to do can be really up to you. This is an example of some of that painted paper that was just kind of scrap watercolor paper that I put in. But if you want to get a little extra fancy, you can work with images. We have an artist named Ding Q Lee at the museum. He works a lot with woven images, and he's kind of the inspiration for some of this stuff too. This is a sheet from a magazine. And if you notice, I start to miss a couple little weaving parts here. When you start to make your weaves, it can be as simple as over, and under. But as you start to make them, think about your patterns. Think about what happens when you skip a few lines. Think about what happens with your design, right? So start to play a little bit, and it's going to be, like I said, as open as you want. I've been able to do a couple collages that I like to do because my background is as a photographer. So I always work with the visual image. I cut a couple pieces, 2 different magazine pages out, and I can put them together on one weave as a collage, which I think is pretty fun. I even have some of my junk mail that makes a small piece. And when we play with text, we can play with it 2 ways. The first way is the obvious way is the way we can read it. So we can use these words to kind of emphasize some little small stories. I have storytelling, I have communication, I have little key words that you can probably pick up. But I can also use text as color and texture and pattern and just fill it in to make this nice design. It doesn't have to be read all the time. If I want to, I can also take 2 different photographs and use these as a weave to make something that has a collage of 2 different images kind of building in there. So we can take this as far as we like, and we can keep it as basic as we like. What I want you to think about mostly is this idea of how we're passing this time and how we can communicate with some of these restricted materials that we have around our house. Sometimes I get that FOMO where I'm thinking, if I can only go to that cool place, or if I only had those cool supplies. But sometimes the challenge is to look around our space and see how we can make something when we're here. I want to show you guys the basic cuts, and then I'm going to give you some examples, and I'll start working on a piece with you, and I'm hoping that you'll work on a piece with me while we're here together. So.
And Mr. B?
First thing we're going to do is we're going to have, yes.
Excuse me. So also wanted to talk about the reason that we chose papers. We're keeping it to paper is that paper is one of the very few materials that prisoners are allowed to have in with them. It's not usually going to hurt you. It's not a dangerous material. And oftentimes they make crafts with them as well, and they give them as gifts. They use things like chewing gum wrappers and cigarette packages to fold and make things in with those items. Anything you want to add, Mr. B?
No, that's true. One of the reasons we did choose this project is, like Ms. Linda said, this idea of resourcefulness, and that's what our challenge is to you. How are we going to take this piece of paper and make something out of it that's visual? In prison, they take gum wrappers, they take candy wrappers, they fold them and braid them, make picture frames, make little gloves, make baby booties out of them, and give them as gifts to people that they know on the outside. I want to show you how we're going to do this really quickly, and I want to give you a couple more examples. So we're going to take our piece of paper and we're going to make our little paper loom. First thing I'm going to do is fold it in half. And we have to cut some slats into this page here, and we want to keep them pretty consistent. They don't have to be exact, but you can keep them as exact as you want. Now, first thing I want to do, this side that opens up, we want to keep this piece together. So let's take a straight edge. It doesn't have to be exact, but let's take a straight edge and we'll put a line up here. This is going to be our stop cutting line. This way we know where to stop cutting so that our loom doesn't fall apart. Once I have my line up here, this is not so straight, so I'm going to straighten it out just a little bit. It's going to be up to you. Do you want your slats to be 1 inch thick? These are 1 inch slats. Or do you want the look to be a little bit thinner like this, which is a 1/2 inch slat? Do you guys see the difference? There's just a difference on the way it looks to you and how tight your weave is going to be. For this example, I'm just going to put 1 inch dots, and I'm going to try showing you on this 1 inch because it'll be nice and big. So at every inch, I'm going to put a little dot just to guide myself. Again, it doesn't have to be exact if you don't have a ruler with you. But since I do, I'm just going to put a little guideline on there so you can see. When I make my lines, I'm taking them to my center fold. I want the lines to cross over my center fold so everything sticks together. And what we're doing now is we're creating the slats for our paper weaving loom. This is a basic loom. Watch up here for a quick second, and I can show you how you can vary this a little bit to make it a little bit more fancy. We're gonna leave this here, this top line, we're not gonna cut, but we are gonna take our scissors and we're gonna cut up to that top line so that when we open it up, we have these nice long slats in the middle going vertically through our sheet. I kind of like the sound of paper cutting. It's kind of weird, but it is kind of fun. Once I have my page all cut like this, all I'm going to do now is open this page up. And if you look at it, the inside page has a nice clean loom. This is what I'm going to be weaving onto. The outside page has my pen marks, but the inside of the page has some nice clean lines here. With another sheet of paper, I'm going to take this and I'm going to slice this into different slats, different sheets of paper that look just like this. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but if you want to keep them to about 1 inch, you can use a ruler to make 1 inch marks all the way down. For this, I'm just going to go ahead and cut. I'm going to keep them as straight as I can. I kind of like the varying sizes of paper because you can make the design look just a little bit different by depending on what thickness or width you choose to include into your design. So I think you get the idea. I just want to show you a couple of variations and I want to see if we can go ahead and get started. With this kind of loom that we have going straight up and down, we're going to get the traditional kind of weave if we go in and out, in and out. Now to start your weave, if you start on the top, go underneath, and it's really simple, in, out, over, under, over, under. Over, under, over, under. And if I started this one on the top, the next one I'm going to start underneath. Super basic, right? Where it gets fancy is where you start to decide which ones you're going to skip to make your own small pattern. And I'll show you what I mean.
Oh, Jody, you have a question?
Yeah, if you're using like a magazine picture and a piece of paper, which one do you make like the lantern kind of cut and which one do you make into the strips?
I would make the magazine into the strips and the lantern, the big thick paper. I mean, the lantern, the loom, make that out of the thick paper. It gives you a little bit more to hold on to, and the magazine paper is a little thinner. This is the same design, this regular over under, but I was just able to skip a few pieces so I can let a few pieces stand out a little bit more. So when you start to create your designs, if you want to have just a regular over under, this is there. But if you want to change it up just a little tiny bit, this little weave that looks like it's coming right at us is cut just like this. My page is open, and instead of going all the way up and down, I just cut in a little slant. And I can even play with different shapes. So as long as I keep my opening this way and give myself a stop cut on the top, I can play with the shapes of my loom. Once I have my loom set up, we start weaving. Oh my science, it is 8:57.
It's okay. We go past 9 o'clock all the time.
You can also make curvy lines on your loom too. You can cut curvy shape.
Play with the shapes. Every cut you make is going to make a little bit of a different effect. This is more of a curvy line.
Yeah.
Once you get your papers start to fit in, I like to line up one entire edge, the right side. I like to kind of keep it nice and straight. That way I only have to cut the extra pieces off the left side. It's just a little thing for when you're getting ready to wrap everything up.
And this is great for the person that doesn't like to throw things away, like me.
If you're using text, see if you can use some of that text as an actual text, but then also, consider, it's kind of like hiding the non-essential words and just showing us what you need us to see.
I had some watercolor scraps of paper that I just thought the color was too pretty to throw away. And what do you know? Now I have something to weave with.
Recycle, reuse, right?
Oh, that looks nice, Kristen. Can I see it one more time? Oh, very cool. I love the text on there. Very, very cool. That's fun. I'm hoping folks, some of the folks with their cameras off, at least show us, give us a little sneak peek. I'm just curious. Now,
Just
these
talking
projects
Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying the projects we do always start with such basic materials, but the outcomes always depend on the person, using them. So it's always fun to see how everything gets used.
Amelia, I was just chatting with Zartashia here. We always follow up our program with a Q&A, and I figure we can just kind of weave it into what we're doing right now. So as we're weaving,
that's great.
I can't believe I just said that. Very bad joke, Becky. If people have questions of our artists that you want to ask right now, either in the chat or out loud while you're weaving, ask away. And it's silent. It's not silent. It's the sound of people creating.
Yeah.
Lisa, you're muted.
My cat is here to say hello.
Hi, cat. Oh.
Lisa, you have a question or a comment?
I do have a question.
Yes.
Even just the images of the 3 pieces of artwork that we looked at in the breakout rooms, they made me sad, which is fine. It's good to be sad. But I wonder what it's like if you work there and you're always around that energy or do you find lightness because you get to see people engaged and affected by the work? Like, I just wonder, art creates energy. And so does the museum feel sad when you have, installations that really are hard hitting like these are?
I love the fact that that's like the whole thing. You're just talking about the feeling of experiencing this artwork, and that's the best part about it. I think,
very nice.
Linda?
Yeah, no, I was watching, trying to show,
Oh, that looks great.
Oh, great, Dorothy.
Oh, I like his missing face there. It's fun.
Well, that's what happens in COVID.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Very great. Awesome. Awesome. You see, like Lisa, like right now, we just shared with Dorothea right now, and the experience I had from that was just like a fun, like, oh, that was joyful. And that's just so great. And to hear you say that you walk away with this sad, heavy feeling, I think that's the point of the exhibit, to make you have those thoughts. And I think that's powerful. I'm glad you had.
I agree. I wonder what it's like for those of you that are around it day in and day out. It's like at City Lights doing a play that is really, you know, intense and sad, and then it's you can't really shake it like when we're doing a piece that is like that. You know, I find that I carry that around with me a little bit. So I just wondered if it was the same with visual art.
I will speak for myself. There are times this particular exhibit is very heavy. It's about incarceration in America and how predominantly affects Black and Brown people. Very heavy. And at times it is really rough. However, I find hopefulness in the fact that we are now bringing these issues to light. We are talking about these issues. We are, you know, becoming aware, and we're helping others become aware of them. And hopefully that could lead to change. So that makes me feel a little hopeful. But yes, absolutely. Some of them are very, very heavy topics.
Yeah. Thank you.
So we're all working from home right now too, so we don't get to have the experience of being around it day in and day out. But when we were in the museum, I'm the HR manager at SJMA, by the way. When we were in the building, there were some exhibits that really do touch you. We often, our offices are tucked away where you can't see them, so we're not always in the middle of the art. But there's times where I need to walk across the museum, and I'll walk through the galleries purposefully so that I can really just take in bits and pieces of it throughout the day and have it really like get inside me and really feel it for what it is. So those moments are very powerful throughout the day. But yeah, and it's really neat because we get to hear the anecdotes from those who visit the museum through our museum experience representatives. And that brings us a lot of joy to, like Z was saying, to really hear how the public is interacting with the art and what they're gaining from it and how they're seeing it and their perspective and what they've learned from it and taken away from it. So that's always a joy too, to know that it is having those impactful moments.
It's really interesting. Emilio, I know you're a photographer. Zartashia and Linda, what are your favorite art forms? What do you work in? I know that obviously you're educators. What else do you work in?
I work in mixed media. I've been doing a lot of collage lately, actually, with watercolor pencils, drawing, using magazines, any scraps I find. Some of the imagery from those magazines.
There's something wonderful about giving new life to, especially paper or cloth. That was something else before. I think someone mentioned that earlier. I play with collage. I'm by no means a visual artist, but I love kind of taking especially older historic pieces, newspapers and things like that, and telling new stories with them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I'm a painter essentially. However, for a while now, I've been incorporating a lot of found paper collage and paint. So it's really kind of moving more towards mixed media, combining old work with the new work and things like that. But yeah, a painter by education.
How we doing, folks? How we doing? Let's see. If you haven't yet, it's fun to look in gallery mode because some of us have. We're all here, kind of sharing out. I'd love to see kind of what you're working on. If it can just get a little quick visual. Nice. I like the scale of yours, Kristen. Oh, very nice. The black and the red, really, really cool.
Let me spotlight it. Hold on.
Oh yeah, that's better.
Oh. Here, let me try and
Oh,
spotlight.
I like the text you got in it. Yep, very nice.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
The black and red's really nice.
There's kind of a delay. All right, let me try and spotlight that one.
Oh.
Okay, let's see. Yours. Oh, yeah.
Oh, very architectural look to that one. I like it.
I like the headlines.
Yeah, it makes me want to keep reading. I'm trying to decipher it. Nice.
I'm doing a micro weaving. It's like
That's
tiny,
awesome.
but I wanted to make a really small one. So I was thinking about what Emilio said about the passage of time and spending time. So I'm using a calendar and a little quick contour line self-portrait that I made. And I'm using the month September because that's when my birthday is, and thinking about passage of time and aging and all kinds of stuff.
So serious. Oh, here's mine.
No, not necessarily. Oh, that's fun. Oh my God, I love that, Linda.
These
That's
are just
beautiful.
my little scraps of watercolor paper that I couldn't throw away.
Beautiful.
Cut them up.
I really love it.
Love the colors.
Yeah.
That's spring. You should call that one
It's
spring.
spring. Yeah, definitely spring.
Yeah, it's interesting how people are working in different sizes.
Folks, I want to show you, I know it's probably pretty self-evident, but I just want to show you just in case, how do we close these up? So as we start to get to the end here of your piece, all you're going to do is take your glue stick. Oh my goodness, oh my science, everything is a mess. And you'll have these little flaps that stick up. Just give it a little touch of glue on this little edge here. When you pull it down, give it a little tug. And when you come to the other side, you'll do the same thing on this side and give it a little pull to get the slack out of them. Just a little bit of glue will do you. Like I said before, I like to keep all my edges on one side so that I can just cut off the sides here. But if you do have any stragglers here, it's up to you. You can leave them out there and kind of leave that look that's kind of going a little bit wild on the edges, or just come over and clean it up and it'll give you a really simple clean edge around your whole weave on there. If you'd like, the weaves can stay this way. And if you're proud of the weave, you can take it and put it onto a little backdrop, and it's called, Linda's already got one called Spring. She's gonna frame it and it's gonna be on eBay and it's ready to go.
You know, also make really super cute like greeting cards or something.
Like I said, folks, you know, our goal wasn't to make you guys master artists. We do appreciate you that you were here with us and that you worked with us and that you made some weaving with us. And I love seeing how everyone put their pieces together. We always start off with the same materials. We had glue, scissors, and tape on paper, but everybody's paper is a little different. The way I work my paper in is a little different. And even the colors I choose to include into my space tell a story that's different than my neighbors. So, you know, we're in this space. This last year has been a little bit crazy. We're in this one space together in the house with people we love and people and things that we're surrounded by. So let's, you know, make the most out of this stuff and try to turn it, transformation of materials, taking these scraps of paper that we can't get rid of and then making something new out of them. I love the idea of being kind of confined or restricted on materials. It'll make our creativity go different places rather than looking for materials and all kinds of different colors to try to get to one small message. So I'm not sure how we're doing on time, but
You are fine. You know, sometimes we end up at 9, sometimes we end up more like 9:15, 9:20. So I think we are fine to go a few more minutes. If
okay.
anyone else has questions of our artists. Oh, can you tell us about, are there other online programs at the Art Museum that we can check out? I know obviously you've reopened, but not everybody is comfortable going back. And some people are still sticking with online until we've gotten all our shots. What are other programs and other ways that people can experience the museum if they're still at home?
See, maybe you could tell them about Art Fix Wednesday.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect segue for that. So every Wednesday we have a docent, a digital docent tour. Normally we have them in the museum where people would come in, we'd walk around, but we have a digital docent tour via Zoom. So something similar to what Linda and I did in the breakout rooms. We chose a piece or two, we talked about it. So it's many of our docents, which I am one, so I also do that. And it's just a great way to look at some art, talk about, you know, our responses to it. The only difference between what we're doing today and that is that there's no art activity. It's a discussion, and it's every single Wednesday, and they're free, you guys. So I encourage you to do that. We have lots and lots of talks, lectures, and lots of upcoming things. Go on the website, check it out. There's so much going on.
Right. And the Art Fix Wednesday is only 30 minutes. So
Yeah.
get a quick Art Fix in 30
Yep.
minutes. It's not a big time commitment, but you'll, I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, and we usually, actually, no, we always look at 2 pieces. So in 30 minutes, we get to look at 2 pieces, talk about 2 pieces. You know, it's just a great like Wednesday afternoon little literally art fix.
And I was going to mention too, for people, you can, like she said, you can check our website, but this Saturday, we're also having a Art 101, a writer's workshop. I think this one is for kids. So if anybody, you know, has kids that they want to, that are interested in a writer's workshop, that is coming up this Saturday. It's also free. And then next month too, on third Thursday, we will be doing our annual poetry reading, where we work with Poetry Center San Jose. So that'll be coming up on the third Thursday of next month, which I think is the 15th, isn't it? Yeah, so it's coming up on the 15th. So we have lots of online programming coming up. We are going to keep most of our programming online for the foreseeable future, like you said, Becky, because it's, you know, people have different comfort levels and the vaccine and all of that. So the programming, there will be lots of free programming online going forward.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
And actually, I can just drop into the chat. I can drop in our calendar on our website.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that'd be perfect. Yeah, the writers workshop this Saturday, if you know any families, it's going to be with Mac Barnett and Sean Harris. Mac Barnett, he is won a number of awards, and so is the illustrator Sean Harris, and they're going to talk about how to develop characters, and not only how to develop it in writing, but how to develop it in art. So his books have won lots of awards. And they read them in school. So your kids, if you have kids, they'll be very familiar with some of the books. I think one is Polar Bear in the Snow is one of his books. And something about digging a hole, which won a Caldecott award.
Do you have a link for it?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I just went ahead and put the link in the chat. It's for the calendar, and all the events, upcoming events are on the calendar, and you can register for them right there.
Yeah, I believe actually the
That
workshop.
link went just to me. Let me
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
no, it's okay. Here, wait, let me copy it. Here.
Yeah.
There we go. That's Jamie.
I last messaged you, and yeah, God, Zoom is so special.
There you go.
Zoom is just not our friend tonight. We'll
Not
blame
tonight.
everything on Zoom. Yeah, and as for us over at City Lights Theater, we are not reopening yet. We have those of you who don't know us, we are our small space over on South 2nd Street. We're a theater of about 100 people. And so we are being extra careful because we are such a small space. We're not going to reopen until we feel that it is absolutely safe as we can make it for our patrons, for our artists, for our volunteers, et cetera. So we are continuing with our online program. We have this show, The Next Stage, every Thursday, and we spotlight different artists from around the community. And we also have a podcast channel called Filament, and I'll put the URL there in the chat. And we've got new plays, radio plays, interviews, stuff like that. So yeah.
I love your radio plays. Those are great. They're such a throwback.
Thank you. Yeah, we have a new play festival every year called Lights Up. And last year we were like, what are we going to do? Because the theater shut down a month before the festival. And so we just turned it all into audio plays. And then this year, the plays were created specifically to be radio plays. So they had fewer visual cues and smaller casts. And that will be starting April 6th. So
that's great.
Yeah, I mean, we can't wait to reopen, and we are definitely going to be announcing a new season But yeah, we don't want to jump the gun. We want to be
No.
safe.
No.
Yeah, we don't have as much space as you do at the museum. I mean, you can spread people out, and you have that freedom, which is wonderful. You have limited hours, right? It's specific hours that people can go, and you have to make appointments. Is that right?
Yes, so that we're open 11 to 5, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then I believe we're still reserving the first hour, 11 to 12, for older adults and people who are more vulnerable. So the more vulnerable populations can come in then in, you know, an even extra safe environment.
Yeah, it's all about reopening safely and just taking care. And I know you all have, well, you had a reopening that lasted for a very brief amount of time, and then you had to close again. So that's been heartbreaking. Yeah.
Yeah, that was tough.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we weren't the only ones, but
Nope. It's you know, better safe than sorry, though. So
Absolutely.
it's definitely been a year.
Yo, yours is looking good. I think yours might be called Spring.
Oh, look at that. That's cool.
Wow.
This is crayon rubbings of leaves from the garden.
I'm getting more of an autumn vibe from that, Linda.
Yeah, maybe.
You can do that.
That's
So,
really cool.
a bunch of these crayon rubbings.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. That looks like it has glitter on it. That's what we need is glitter. There's never enough glitter, right?
Hey, if you have little kids, just keep the glitter away. My 4-year-old's always like, "Can we have glitter, Mama?" No.
Yeah.
I'm
How
a
many
little
vacuum
ashamed to
cleaners
say
have
it, but
you
I
killed
do
off?
have some handy.
No, keep it
Oh, he does. Oh.
I have 2 daughters.
Yeah, I have a 4-year-old girl, and she's like all about that glitter,
It's the
and
best.
it is everywhere.
just like Play-Doh. Play-Doh gets everywhere. It dries up in little pieces and it gets under your shoes. Yeah.
I never thought I would have such a disdain for Play-Doh. That I ended up. When I was a kid, I loved it. When I was a teenager, I loved it. I loved it all the way up until I had kids.
It does change your perspective.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. Lisa just said in the chat, her daughters are calling her teenage daughters. Thank you for being here, Lisa. And those of you who don't know her, Lisa Millette is our artistic director at City Lights, and she is wonderful. So
Yes, she is.
This has been terrific. I have, as I mentioned when we started this series, we focused on performing arts, you know, because we're a theater. So we had new plays and musicians and dance classes. And then we started bringing in more of our visual arts designers. So we profiled our set designer, and then we brought in some props designers and costume. And it was just, it's really cool to see all the close-ups. One of my favorite programs is we had 2 props designers come on, and they cooked up a meal of pretend food. And that was their home.
Wow, that's
So
awesome.
it was wonderful. You can find that on our YouTube.
Oh, it's that I recommend that to everybody. It's fabulous. Those 2 women are I don't know if it was intentional, but they're very funny.
They're very funny. Well, it looks like people are starting to drop off, and we are getting close to 9:30. Thank you. I'm seeing so many nice comments in the chat, and I'm reading them out too, because as I said, we're on YouTube. This will be on YouTube, so people won't see the chat. People are saying, thank you. This is relaxing. Oh, that's good. This has been really enjoyable. What fun to just kind of dig our hands into something that doesn't have to do with typing on an iPhone. This was. Does anyone else have any questions for our artist educators before we wrap up? All right. Well, I will
Here's
probably
a livelier one that I did, Linda. Is that better?
Oh, that's fabulous.
I did want to just quickly mention, and before I turn it back over to you, Amelia, that speaking of kids, next week on the next stage is going to be our first kids program. We're trying this out. A special early time at 7 o'clock. We have a children's musician named Andy Z. He's a singer-songwriter on the peninsula, and he is just charming and wonderful. And yeah, you might want to check it out, because my 4-year-old loves his music.
Is that going to be on your website information?
Yeah, that's on our website. It's cltc.org. And that will be at a special early time of 7 o'clock. It's a bedtime show, and that will be in Zoom as well. So just like this. And
Perfect.
Andy Z is
Oh,
super charming. So
love it.
check it out. I'm going to back off, let Emilio take us home here. Thank you. Thank you for this fantastic evening. What fun.
Thank you, Becky and
Folks.
Lisa. It was great. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for working along with us. I do appreciate you spending the time. Oh, that looks great. Athene, that's beautiful. I love the purple watercolors on there.
Oh, that's
Great job. And I do appreciate you really, taking this time on a Thursday night to just play with something so simple, but making something so beautiful. Z and Linda, thank you for, leading the tours and getting everybody ready to make some work. Awesome.